Yo, WWE Maniacs! Welcome to Night Before Wrestle, the place where wrestling never sleeps. Subscribe, ring that bell, and let's get into today's action. For months, Jade Cargill existed on Monday Night Raw as something close to inevitable. A competitor who didn't just win matches but erased doubt along the way. Every appearance reinforced the same message. She was ahead of the division. Physically unmatched, mentally confident, and increasingly convinced that no one left could slow her momentum. Backstage, her presence carried weight. Conversations shifted when she walked by. Confidence wasn't something she put on for the camera. It lived in her posture, her voice, her belief that the future of the women's division had already arrived. And it wore her name. The longer that dominance went unchallenged, the more it felt permanent, as if the division had quietly accepted that Jade Cargill was the new standard whether they liked it or not. The absence that spoke loudest. As Raw unfolded that night, everything felt normal on the surface. Matches concluded, promos filled the air, and the women's locker room buzzed with its usual mix of ambition and anticipation. But one name remained conspicuously absent. Bianca Belair didn't appear. No entrance music hit. No graphic flashed across the screen. No announcement teased her return. And that silence wasn't accidental. Bianca Belair has never needed constant visibility to feel powerful. Sometimes her strength comes from patience, from letting anticipation build, from understanding that the loudest statements aren't always made under the lights, but in the moments when no one expects her at all. Confidence that crossed the line. Fresh off another dominant performance, Jade Cargill spoke with the certainty of someone who believed her rise was no longer theoretical. It was proven. She talked about dominance, about legacy, about how Raw's women's division needed to catch up to her pace. Names were mentioned, some respectfully, some dismissively. And then Bianca Belair's name came up, not as a rival, but as a footnote, as if her era had already passed. That wasn't arrogance alone. It was belief. Jade truly felt that she had surpassed everyone who came before her. But in wrestling, confidence without awareness is dangerous, and dismissing someone who helped define the division has consequences. The smile that changed everything. Perhaps the most unsettling moment came not from Bianca, but from Jade. As the situation settled and cameras lingered, Jade didn't look shaken. She didn't look angry. She smiled. That smile wasn't dismissal. It was recognition. In that moment, Jade understood something critical. Bianca Belair didn't see her as an obstacle to avoid. She saw her as a challenge worth engaging. And for someone like Jade Cargill, that realization wasn't threatening. It was validating. The dynamic shifted instantly. This wasn't about proving who belonged. This was about discovering who would rise higher. Not heroes or villains. This rivalry doesn't fit neatly into traditional roles. There's no clear hero, no obvious villain. This is dominance meeting dominance. Two women who refuse to wait, refuse to bow, refuse to step aside. They represent different paths to the same destination: control of the division. Jade embodies raw power and rapid ascent. Bianca represents experience, adaptability, and survival at the top. Neither is wrong, neither is weak. And that's what makes this collision compelling. When neither competitor doubts herself, the conflict becomes inevitable. A division on edge. Since Bianca's return, Raw feels different. Backstage moments carry tension. Matches feel like they could spiral at any second. There's an underlying sense that something is building, not through words, but through presence. Bianca doesn't announce herself anymore. She observes. She chooses moments. She strikes first when necessary. And that strategic patience may be her greatest weapon. Jade's strength is undeniable, but Bianca's understanding of timing, momentum, and psychological advantage gives her an edge that goes beyond physicality. What comes next? This story isn't headed toward resolution through speeches or contracts. It's heading toward escalation. Tag matches that fall apart. Accidental encounters that feel anything but accidental. Authority figures struggling to maintain order. The kind of slow burn that turns into something unforgettable. WWE understands the value here. This isn't just a matchup. It's a collision of eras, philosophies, and identities. And when they finally stand face to face, words won't matter. The audience will feel it before it happens. Experience versus power. Jade Cargill brings undeniable power. Bianca Belair brings something just as dangerous: experience. In WWE, experience doesn't weaken strength. It reshapes it. Bianca has been tested at the highest levels and survived. She knows how pressure feels, how expectations weigh, how momentum shifts. She knows how to win battles before they become wars. Jade may be the future, but Bianca is the present refusing to be rewritten without consent. A return with purpose. Bianca Belair didn't come back to reclaim a spot on the card. She came back to redefine the conversation, to remind everyone who helped build the division they now compete in. And Jade Cargill, whether she realizes it yet or not, has become the proving ground for that reminder. This isn't about nostalgia. It's about legacy colliding with ambition. And the outcome will shape the division long after the moment passes. The question that matters. So now the question isn't whether Bianca Belair made the right move. The real question is whether Jade Cargill was ready for what that move represents. Because dominance doesn't disappear, it gets challenged. And sometimes, the most dangerous thing you can do is awaken someone who knows exactly who they are, when the unexpected arrives. As Jade moved through the backstage area, still carrying the energy of her victory, the atmosphere shifted. Cameras adjusted. A moment passed. And then everything changed. Bianca Belair entered the frame with purpose, not hesitation. There was no grand announcement, no dramatic pause. She moved with clarity and intent, making it immediately clear that this wasn't about surprise. It was about timing. The confrontation unfolded quickly, not as chaos, but as control. Bianca didn't look reckless or emotional. She looked focused. This wasn't about stealing attention. It was about sending a message directly to the one person who claimed there was no one left to challenge her. A statement without words. Officials rushed in, voices raised, movement everywhere. But Bianca's message had already landed. When the moment ended, the camera caught her expression, and it told the real story. There was no wild anger, no loss of control. There was resolve. Bianca Belair didn't return overwhelmed by emotion. She returned grounded in purpose. That distinction mattered. This wasn't a reaction. It was a decision. The kind that only comes from someone who knows exactly who they are and what they represent. Watching closely, it became clear that this wasn't jealousy or resentment driving her actions. It was respect for the division and refusal to be erased from its present. What respect really means. Bianca Belair didn't build her legacy by waiting for opportunities to be handed to her. She earned it through consistency, through pressure, through moments when expectations were highest and failure felt closest. Championships, main events, and defining matches weren't accidents. They were the result of resilience and belief. So when Jade Cargill arrived and spoke as if history no longer mattered, Bianca took notice. Not out of insecurity, but out of responsibility. This wasn't about protecting her spot. It was about protecting the standard. Bianca didn't attack to reclaim attention. She stepped in to remind everyone that dominance without acknowledgement of the past is incomplete. The locker room reacts. The ripple effect backstage was immediate. Whispers spread. Reactions varied. Some competitors felt energized, thrilled by the idea that the hierarchy had shifted again. Others felt uneasy, realizing that a division already filled with ambition had just gained a new layer of unpredictability. Bianca Belair's return didn't just add another name to the roster. It altered the emotional balance of the room. When someone with her credibility re-enters the picture, no one feels completely secure. And that uncertainty is powerful. It forces reassessment. It forces growth. It forces confrontation.